All right. Hello, everybody. Good evening. I have been all over the Metroplex today at appointments, but my mouth got stuck on good morning. Even at my last appointment at 4:30, it was good morning. So I'm feeling good that I didn't say good morning to you guys. And I'm so excited that you guys are on there. And I've had text messages and Voxer messages from several who are on spring break that will be watching the recording later. And so I'm really glad I'm not talking to a void of nobody. So thank you guys for being on. And I know you're probably making your own spring break in your own mind right off the bat. And so let's start with first, I want to see a show of hands of everyone who finished their STAR. Raise your hand. Yay! Julie, congratulations. What level?
It was just the first level, Sapphire.
Did I hear you say just?
Yeah, I was reaching for higher, so that's why I say just.
Okay, but it was still STAR, and there would be a lot of people that would trade places for you, girls. So congratulations.
Okay.
Mary Beth, did I see your hand?
Yes.
What level?
Ruby.
Woohoo! Good job. How about you, Cheryl?
Sapphire.
Sapphire, congratulations. Michelle?
I think I'm a Ruby.
Congratulations, girl. That is awesome. Beth? Oh, Beth's muted.
Sorry, I think I was muted. I know it's at least a Ruby. it's really Brad, because Brad does most of my ordering and I'm just selling. So I think I have some team building credit to get to add to that as well, because I know I've had new personal qualifieds throughout this quarter also.
Congratulations, girl. That is awesome. And let's see. Lou, what level STAR, girl?
Pearl.
Woohoo! That would be an on-target Queen's Court of Sales, making it happen. In fact, are you already done, Lou?
Almost.
Oh my gosh, it's only March. That is awesome. Congratulations. And I see Michelle, and I know Michelle is already done with her National Court of Sales. And so lots of time left. And Angelique, I only see the silhouette. Did you finish your STAR?
Absolutely, ma'am. 1 month early, Sapphire.
Woohoo! Way to go. And Taylor is muted. And Taylor, if you want to unmute and tell me your level of STAR, that's great. If not, I know you may have noise in the background or something. Anybody else want to share and brag and crow and inspire about their level of STAR? Yes, Stephanie, you're muted. Yes.
Ruby.
Woohoo!
Yay.
That is awesome. Oh my gosh. I was also a STAR, but I am in the same situation as Beth. I'm not exactly sure because, you know, guys, think about this going forward. For those of you that were Sapphires or Rubies, that isn't it going to be so much fun when you're a Sapphire or Ruby a month or 6 weeks into the quarter and everything else is just gravy, and it's because you're constantly in front of faces. And so I'm just so stinking excited and proud of you guys. That is great. Okay, so let's talk about what you have learned so far from the 21-day challenge, maybe little things that you've already figured out about this, and or crows or ahas. And so who will start us off? Don't be bashful, Cheryl.
Okay, so I'm only on my second day, and you know, it was a big step, but I love the scripts. I love the way they're set up to have specifics of what to say when you call, what to do on the text. And, you know, as I've told you before, getting on the phone and making calls to my long list of referrals has been daunting. And I've done it the last 2 days. I made 21 calls in 2 days.
Excellent.
And I didn't look. The limbs are still all attached. Everything's still intact. So did great and got some follow up. I have 3 appointments. 1 definitely booked, and 2 I'm working on a date. And then a couple of them said they're real busy right now. And so I said, well, would I have your permission to call you in 2 weeks or in a month? And they said yes. We picked the time, and I have them down to put my tickler file to call them back.
Excellent, Cheryl. Way to go. And you know, guys, the thing is, fear is not tangible. It is not like this drink. It is not like my head. It's not like the mouse. Fear is not unpredictable. Okay. Okay, hold on. Let me mute. Somebody's got a lot of noise going on in the background, so we're just going to temporarily mute you guys. Okay, let me manage this, and I want to. Okay, there we go. Okay, sorry guys. Fear is something that is completely a creation of this 6 inches. And basically all it is a story that we have repeatedly told ourselves to the point it builds up into a fear. And yet something that is not touchable or physically tangible sometimes controls us like crazy. And so, you know, just stepping past that fear. And Cheryl, I love what you said about how, you know, it's gotten easier already and it's only 2 days. And yet we make sometimes things into these huge, big bugaboos. And so way to go, girlfriend. Who else would like to share something that they've learned on the 21-day challenge? Okay, time out. Somebody, whoever has a lot of noise going on in the background, if you would just hit *6, only if that's you, that would be great. Okay, Julie.
One thing that this 21-day challenge has done is given me organization, because chaos makes me nervous. And I just love the organization, so I know what I'm going to do. I know what my task is, and I just do it. Where before I would spend all my time planning and then get nothing done.
Getting ready to get started to get going.
Yeah.
Well, and so Julie, are you planning who you're going to call the night before or the morning of?
I went through my contacts and I put contacts, names and numbers on a list, on a calendar on the day. And so I know those are the ones I'm going to text and call for that day. And I had so many contacts that I ended up really with 4 lists instead of 3. But I thought about condensing the 4th list onto the other 3 days, but that would mean I would have to probably make 15 calls instead of the 10.
Well, and as you do your second set of 3 groups, you're going to need those names. And so it really will work out okay. Way to go, Julie, and thank you for being willing to share. Who else has an aha or a crow or something they've learned? Okay, well, I'll share one for me. I have found that I needed to make sure and protect a little bit of time at the end of the day to respond to all the texts that came back, especially after the text. You know, you call first, then towards the end of the day, you text if you haven't heard back from them. And last night I was at Girls Night Out, and so I had sent my text out just before the beginning of Girls Night Out, and my phone was off during meeting, and when I got back in the car, it was just like my phone was blown up, which is a good problem, but there was no time left in the day in order to return, so I worked on that first thing this morning. So that was something that I learned, is I've got to try and budget that time to respond to those texts right away. Not the end of the world if you don't, but that's just something I would choose. Anybody else have an aha or something they've learned or some results that they are getting? Okay, I'm going to make y'all drink caffeine next week before we get together. Okay, here is the other thing that I learned. Hold on, let me grab my book. This is my book. You can see my first couple of days. Today was very interesting. Yesterday I got 1 immediate booking, and I cut my counting off when I send out that last text, and I got 2 no's. Today I got 3 new ones booked, one of which was a party, and the other ones are coming to events, because I'm really trying, you guys, and I encourage you as your business grows, I'm trying not to do any single or double facials. I'm bringing them to events that I'm either holding at my house, where I can, and y'all don't think bad of me, where I can include other selfish people that don't want to share. And so it's either a unit meeting or it's one of those events, because it's just not a good use of time when you don't have a lot that you want to invest there to run around doing single and double facials. And so today I got 2 no's and got 3 new ones booked, and then have several waiting in the wings. So that's just been kind of fun, and it surprises me how quick you can do that. Yesterday, I actually got to talk to 4 people during the time, and I started at like 1:52 and I finished at 2:36. So less than an hour, and that was with leaving all the messages and actually talking to 4 people. And so it really doesn't take as long. Today I had to do it broken up. I did like 5 calls right off the bat in a window I had this morning, and then 3 more calls, and then 2 more. And you know what? Every single one of them was parked in my car under a different tree. None of it happened from my office, none. And don't we love that we have that flexibility, you guys? There is always a way over, under, around, or through. Okay, anybody else have anything before we move off the 21-day challenge? Okay, has anybody done more than 2 days so far? Michelle.
Okay, I've got one question, and Jeannie, I did finally watch the video and kind of go through all the stuff. Sorry, I'm a little behind. So y'all are saying calls. So in her script, it does say calls. So we are physically making 10 phone calls and then following up with a text.
Yes, a text later in the day to give them a chance to respond, but a follow-up text, yes.
Okay.
Good question. Anybody else have a question? Okay, and Michelle, I hope your family is feeling better, girl. You were very missed last night. Okay.
I'm sorry, I won't miss any more.
Girl, your attendance is rock star. I mean, that's not ever anything I worry about with you. Okay, and so really quick before we start on the objections, I just wanted to let you guys know, in case you didn't know, because I didn't know this either, that Danielle, who is in Beth's unit on her team, her brother is having brain surgery the end of this week for a tumor. And so just please be lifting her up in prayer. And, you know, on our Voxer group, you can click on her picture and send her a direct personal Vox. Probably if you do it early in the week, a voice Vox would be good. If you do it later in the week, a texted Vox that she can read even in the hospital. I know she would so appreciate that. And so, Beth, thank you very much for letting us know that. Did you want to say something, Beth?
No, that's great. Thank you. I know that will mean a lot to her. You know, it's one of the joyful benefits of being spread out, but also I just know that that'll mean a lot to her. So thank you guys for just making a note or setting a reminder to do that. I know that'll mean a lot.
Well, we are glad to do that. Okay, so now this is one of my favorite things to do is around objections. Y'all, I love to play board games and card games, and doing this to me is like playing Uno or Spite and Malice or anything like that. I absolutely love it. And because once you learn the dynamics of how to overcome an objection, it doesn't really matter what they throw at you. You will be ready to respond. And so I'm going to start, Julie, up at the top left. And so share with me an objection that you feel like you've been getting a lot lately that you'd really like a fresh idea on.
I'm having surgery or something like that I ran into this week.
Well, that's a little hard to overcome.
Yeah.
Okay, so will you be her?
Yes.
Okay, and what is her name?
Her name is Ina.
Ina. Okay, so Ina, what day exactly are you having your surgery?
It hasn't been set yet, but it should be in the next couple of weeks.
In the next couple of weeks. Okay, well, you know what? Would you agree that sometimes getting ready for a surgery can be a little stressful?
Oh, yeah.
I would like to be the best medicine on the planet and just take your mind away for an hour and just pamper you and help you to relax and not think about it for an hour. And so what is normally better for you, a daytime, an evening, or a weekend?
Probably a weekend because I work and then I have children to take care of and a husband at night. So probably a weekend.
Exactly. So see, I've already got her where she is booking. Now that will not always happen, but if she were to have thrown another objection, I would have handled that. Thank you, Julie.
Sure.
Okay, Mary Beth, are you able to unmute?
Yes.
Okay, what would be your objection?
With any topic or just buying?
Any.
Okay.
So I've been running across people who do not want to sign right now. They want to wait later, like summer.
Gotcha. And before I respond to that, there's a couple of questions that you always need to ask yourself when you're running into that consistently, okay? Are you really identifying their why that they would want to do this? Because if you don't identify their why, it's going to be very difficult to move them past an obstacle or a roadblock. Because guys, very oftentimes, more than not, a person will make a decision to make a change, like beginning their Mary Kay business, when they have a hope that one of their pain points, i.e. needing more money, whatever, is going to be met. They will sign quicker for the elimination of a pain point than just because it sounds fabulous, okay? And so if we don't identify the why, then we haven't really gotten to that which would move them off ground zero to make a decision. So you've always got to look at that. Did you really find out the why? And so Mary Beth, why don't you just pick one of the ones you've heard, okay? And then give me what her why is, and then we'll go from there.
Okay. She is just wanting extra money. So that she doesn't have to get a job or a second job or a part-time job kind of thing.
Okay, what is her first name?
Who was it? Sherry.
Sherry. And what does Sherry want to do with that money?
Just spending money.
And what would she spend that money on?
I didn't dig that deep, but probably just herself, because she's not married or have kids or anything like that.
Okay, thank you for being honest. And guys, that's one of the things when somebody says just for extra money, you've got to keep asking questions. Last night on the career chat, someone said extra money, and I asked, what would you do with it? And she gave me a reason, and I said, what else? And she said, a vacation. And then I said, where would you go with your son on that vacation? Can you see the difference of the power of the anchor by doing that rather than just stopping at making extra money? Does that make sense? Okay, y'all nod your head if it does. Okay, excellent. And so Sherry, i.e. Mary Beth, okay? I know you said you want to wait till the summer. May I ask you a couple of more questions?
Yes.
Okay. When you wait till the summer, how is that going to impact your ability to have the extra money to purchase the things you told me about earlier?
It probably would take me longer, just because I wouldn't be making the money now, but I just feel like I'm really busy right now.
Okay. Would you be open to exploring that a little further?
Sure.
Okay, and then what I would do, guys, is I'd pull out a weekly plan sheet if I was right there with her, and we'd fill out the weekly plan sheet. And if I wasn't physically with her, I'd probably ask if we could jump on Zoom and we could do one together, on the computer. But because it doesn't matter what I say to her about how, oh, yes, you can work it in, or girl, you're not as busy as I am, which God forbid, please don't ever say that. But until you let her see at her own hand or from her own mouth what the solution is, it's not going to be her solution. And you're still going to meet resistance. Okay. And so if we did the weekly plan sheet and we saw that there was time and she was still giving me an objection, okay, that is now 2 objections. At some point, you have to use your discernment to decide, is she just making excuses, or does she, is there something else behind this? And this is where your discretion comes in. Because, guys, you always have to remember, if you're going to have to talk somebody into signing, you're going to have to talk them into working, okay? And so you want to be cognizant of that. Does that make sense, Mary Beth?
Yes.
Okay. Michelle, could you unmute and then share with us one of your objections you've been dealing with?
One of the objections I've been dealing with getting or talking to referrals and getting new bookings, like brand new faces, is I'm not using Mary Kay right now. And of course, it's like, well, duh, you're probably not. But I'm not, at that point, I'm just kind of stunned, like, well, that's why you would get a free facial.
I know, that D in us just wants to go, are you kidding me? Have you looked in the mirror lately? No, don't ever do that. Okay, and so, like, give me a name of someone who said that to you recently, Michelle.
It was a referral, so I'm not really sure of her name. So we'll go with, like, Emily.
Emily, okay. Emily, so tell me what you are using for your products to cleanse your face, for example.
Can I be honest? That's still like the answer that they normally give me. Well, sometimes water and soap.
Okay.
Or Neutrogena.
Okay. And then are you using any kind of mask or exfoliant on your skin?
When I remember.
When you remember, okay. And are you using any kind of toner to make your pores smaller in your skincare routine?
What's a toner?
Oh, a chance for me to share something you might like. How about a moisturizer?
No, I just have really oily skin.
Gotcha. Okay. And then what kind of foundation do you wear?
I don't wear foundation.
Okay. And so, Michelle, let me ask you a question. Do you promise to be honest?
Yeah, sure.
Okay. If there was one thing that you could change about your skin, what would it be?
To pour some of this oil off my face.
To get some of the oil off your face. So if I understand you, the soap in the water and the mask when you remember it, and no toner, and you don't wear moisturizer because of the oil issue, and you don't wear foundation. Since that is not handling the oil, do you think that maybe exploring some other options there might be an answer there for you around the oil?
It might be.
Mm-hmm. And you know what, Michelle, I would love for us to explore that together. It does not obligate you to purchase Mary Kay, but it would allow you to have all the facts so that you could make an intelligent decision. When would be best for you, a daytime, an evening, or a weekend?
Probably a weekend.
Done. Thank you, Michelle. Cheryl, what would be an objection you've been hearing? Okay, I think you're frozen, Cheryl. Oh, now you're unfrozen, but you're muted. There you go, Cheryl.
I was trying to unmute and I hit a wrong button. The objection that I have is the one today. I called a girl. Her name was Carrie, and she said, "Oh, I'm super busy right now." And I asked her, well, is there a way we could fit something in, like one evening or over the weekend, take an hour of your time? And she says, well, we have baseball, and I work, and I run the kids, and I do this, and I do that. And then I said, well, how about after baseball? And she says, well, then we'll have swim team. So okay. maybe after swim team in maybe July.
Okay. Well, Carrie, can I ask you a question?
Sure.
When was the last time that you allowed somebody to do something that was just for you?
I never take time for myself.
Mm-hmm. Really? Well, you know what? I would love to be able to do that, Carrie, and I can do it in the form of a 15-minute appointment, a 30-minute appointment, or if you're in serious need of some de-stressing, I can even do an hour appointment. Would you like to schedule that now, or would you prefer for me to call you back in a few weeks?
Let's do a few weeks.
Okay. That is around April 5th. Is there a day of the week that is better to touch base with you than others?
Probably a Wednesday night.
A Wednesday night.
Baseball on Wednesdays.
Okay, I will call you on Wednesday night. And so that I can be doing some research so that I will be able to really pamper you, if you had to tell me one thing about your skin that is your biggest challenge that you would love to have some help with, what would that be?
Oily skin.
Oily skin. Has that been a long time problem?
Yes, I've always had oily skin.
Wow. And if you didn't have oily skin, how do you think it would change how your skin looked and how you felt?
Great.
Well, you know what, Carrie? I am going to make a note about the oily skin. And when I call you back, we'll find a few minutes to invest in helping you look and feel better and managing the oil that you're dealing with. Does that sound like a good plan?
That sounds great.
And, you know, I'd love to drop you a note in the mail. What is your physical mailing address? And then you'd give it to me. And then I would send a note to reinforce that I'm going to be calling her on April 5th or whatever that day is. Okay? Because here's the thing, guys. You can be extremely skilled with your words and actually get somebody to book who really doesn't want to book. But what's going to happen when you do that?
They're just going to reschedule or cancel.
Right.
Exactly. And so did you notice what was my anchor with her?
Taking time for self.
That was a possible one, but if she's busy, and y'all, some people wear busy like a red badge of courage, okay? They think that makes them, you know, like something super special because they're busy, when in reality, that's not what that says to me at all. But what was the anchor? What do you think I did that is more than anything that increases my opportunity to book with her?
What she wants to change about her skin.
Exactly, Michelle. And I'm going to write that in that note. And then I'm going to text her the day before and say, hey, I'm so looking forward to talking with you tomorrow. I've done some research and I think you're going to be really excited about some ideas I have for your oily skin. And so I'm priming the pump, you know, and I just put those reminders in my calendar, in my phone, wherever you do it. Okay. And so guys, here is the thing. You are such a valuable commodity. The service that you offer, the product that you offer, incredible value. But you don't need to beg anyone to hold an appointment with you, okay? And I think sometimes we get so kind of discombobulated because we think they're doing us a favor, that we get it all backwards, when in reality, we are doing them a favor. But I think, again, we have to be cognizant of our verbiage, okay, and how we word that. And so that's why I wanted to just kind of have some fun playing with some objections with you guys. And on our Voxer group, for those of you that I didn't get to ask that question, or those of you who I did and you've got other ones, leave it on our Voxer group and I'll overcome those as well. But the biggest thing I would tell you is never ever try and push back. Don't disqualify what they say to you, okay? Like, oh, I'm too busy. Girl, let me tell you about busy. Okay, that's a disqualifying statement, because you will never get anywhere with that. But if you can turn the conversation to what is something they want, which is what I just did with Carrie about the oil, then they're going to be much more likely to book, because you know that you know what they want. And for them, now there is something in it for them. Okay, so that's kind of just a little bit of a premise. Any questions about that before we go ahead to our next section? Yes, Michelle.
Can you say that one question again, or that statement? You said something great. We can find a few minutes to help basically de-stress you or relax you, and you said something else.
Okay, I said we can do this in a 15-minute appointment, a 30-minute appointment, or if you really, really need some serious de-stressing, I can pamper you for an entire hour. Which of those would work best for you?
Okay.
And then daytime or evening. Notice they're all choice questions. There was only one time that I am aware of that I asked a yes/no question. And there was a reason specifically behind that, because if you ask a yes/no question, you have to be okay with no. And that could be the end of the conversation. Okay, any other questions? Okay, and please, seriously, do put more objections on our Voxer group. And y'all, I have to tell you, some of you, I almost put your faces on milk cartons because I didn't see you on Voxer this week. I didn't hear from you on Voxer. And so I was going to send out an Amber Alert or put you on the side of a milk carton. And so part of growing as a leader is being willing to communicate effectively with your team And this Voxer group is your opportunity to build your muscle in communicating. Because remember, it's really not even as much about what you say, is the fact that you got on there and were willing to speak, because that could bless someone else, okay? Because leadership is never about you. It is never about you. And so sometimes we have to be willing to get outside ourselves, even though we feel like it's bragging. You know, we don't get to vote on that, okay? Because we're there because it helps somebody else. So I really, really want to encourage you, because now that I have all the contacts for the milk cartons and the Amber Alert, I will do it this week. Okay, so your business building opportunities for this week. The first one is 20 new contacts / referrals with at least one follow-up attempt. And you may already have those names from party referrals or from a booth. And as long as you have not tried to make that first attempt, then you can use those. And I mean, that fits perfect into the 21-day challenge. You probably were planning on doing that already. And then your second business building opportunity is to create your own digital business card and begin to use it, okay? And so what I'm gonna ask is, for those of you who have a digital business card, I would love for you to post it. And then just below it, I would love for you to share how you did it. And so, for example, my digital business card, I didn't pick collage. And super easy breezy, you don't have to be techno babe to do it. But just today I used it for a brand new contact I got at the car wash to get all the bugs that I brought back from Houston off of my car. And she was so impressed that I had a digital business card. And I laughed and thought, well, it really should say, Beth Austin, your Mary Kay girl, since Beth taught me how to do that. But, you know, we are better together. And if you're having trouble, ask, because we will be glad to help. In fact, Beth, you need to know, I was bragging on you big time about digital stuff. And I was sharing about in Evernote, which is one of the apps that I use for note-taking. There is actually a notebook in my Evernote that says mobile digital class. And what that means is that every time when I'm riding with Beth in the car, all between the last trip and this, I've made notes in that file of all the questions I wanted to ask her. And while she's driving, I'm asking and I'm making notes and learning how to do it. And y'all, I've had that probably ever since she moved to Alabama. And you know what? It doesn't matter that I don't know how to do that. It matters that I'm willing to ask and to learn how. And so you guys don't ever feel ashamed about not knowing. Just be sure to ask. And so two things, 20 new contacts and or referrals with at least one follow-up attempt this week, and creating your digital business card and beginning to use it. For those of you who've already done it, please post examples and how you did yours. And y'all, how I've been doing this, and I absolutely love it. I'll give them my physical business card, and then I'll say, but you know, I know business cards can get lost. May I send you my digital business card? And I've yet to have anybody ever say no. Sometimes I think because they really don't know what I'm asking. But I say, okay, what is your phone number? And I type her phone number in. I'm in the, I've already clicked on my picture, and now I'm in the text, and I type her phone number in there. And I said, what is your first name? And she said, Karen. And I said, with a K or a C? Karin. Great. All right. And I just type it in. Hi, Karen. Here's my digital business card. Send. Now I have her phone number, I have her cell number and her name, and now she's got that digital. When I was at my next tree that I parked under today, I shot a video for her because one of the things we talked about is all the fountains in South Lake, and I happened to be parked by a fountain. So I took the video of the fountain while I spoke into it. I just saw this and it made me think of you. It was so nice to meet you at the car wash today. Send. And just the little bit of layering, okay? So making that connection, guys, is so, so important, all right? So any questions about the two assignments? Okay, so, yes.
Jeannie?
Yeah.
So today and yesterday when I was doing the phone calls and the follow-up texts to the ones that were new contacts and referrals, I sent the digital business card with that text message.
Yay! That is awesome. Oh my gosh, how'd that feel?
That felt great. And then one of the girls even responded, "Oh, I love to put a face with the name." So
that is so good. And you know, this is not this particular call, but you guys, I can't encourage you enough. Anytime you do a facial, a double facial, or a party, get a picture of you and every guest at the end, because when they've given you referrals, you can send a picture of you and Susie smiling together to her friend that she gave you as a referral. You're much more likely to get a positive response when she sees her friend and you smiling in the same picture, okay? But that's a whole different class. Okay, I'm so excited about what I'm going to share with you, because literally I heard Mary Kay read this from the stage at Leadership Conference in Phoenix, Arizona in 1989. I remember it so vividly, and it's around courage. And so it says, been disappointed or discouraged? Look at Abraham Lincoln's record. He failed in business in 1831. He got defeated for the legislature in 1832. He failed again in business in 1833. In 1834, he got elected to the legislature. In 1835, his sweetheart died. In 1836, he had a nervous breakdown. In 1838, he was defeated for Speaker of the House. In 1840, he was defeated for elector. In 1843, he was defeated for Congress. In 1848, he was elected to Congress. In 1855, he was defeated for Senate. In 1856, he was defeated for Vice President. In 1858, he was defeated for Senator. And in 1860, he was elected president. And he goes down in history as one of the greatest presidents from a leadership respect that we have ever had. What if he had stopped after the first defeat, or the first 3 defeats, or the first 5? And so I just want you guys to know, the fact that you have the dream and the desire in your heart to move up in your business, God did not give you that without also equipping you with everything you need. And all we have to do is get these 6 inches out of the way so that we can stand and be who he created us to be. And so it doesn't matter what you have or haven't done in the past. Some of you don't even know this. I failed to requalify for my first car that I earned. We didn't requalify. I was a director twice because I didn't do the work once I became a director. My heart was right. I wanted to do everything for my people, but my job was to stay in the field actively working. But I poured into my people, and so my heart was right, but I was wrong. And I lost my position as a sales director. What if I had let those 2 defeats stop me? What if? Y'all, Beth and I as sales directors on this call, as well as Michelle and Lou, we have missed far more goals than we have ever made. That is the nature of the beast, because if you're not trying for anything very big. And when you fall down, the quality and caliber of your character is measured by how long you stay down. And you know, when you take a step back, some of you have been in your red jacket and then out of your red jacket. Some of you might have had to buy multiple sizes because you kept going in and out of it. You know, all kinds of things. But here's the thing. Failure is never final unless you quit. And you guys are not quitters. You guys are champions through and through, because a champion is not crowned champion in the ring. A champion becomes a champion because of the work they do outside of the ring in preparation. And so I love you guys. I'm so stinking proud of you. Get those 2 business building opportunities done. Keep going on your 21-day challenge and take that victory from the effort every single day. And if you need help, please ask your sales director. Stay plugged in on Yes You Can. There's some great information there. And according to my watch, there is still 3 hours and 21 minutes to finish your STAR. If you don't have that done, it is still doable. I love you guys. Good night.
Right.